Did you know the first printing press was invented in the 1450s, and the man who changed the world lost everything?
My name is Johannes Gutenberg, and I am the inventor of the first printing press. My press could print 250 pages an hour, but my financier sued me. He took it all. I died poor.
The irony? From Gutenberg to the New York Times, the real fortunes came not from inventing the press, but from owning it. If you want to find out when and how someone like you, or a retail investor, could actually buy into this revolution, and how you can spot similar patterns and opportunities in the future to grow your capital and wealth, then stick with us as we dive deep into the evolution of the printing press and reveal how capital and wealth were built from ink, paper, and power. In the 1450s, Mainz was a small city on the Rhine. But inside a workshop there, Johannes Gutenberg was building a machine that would change the world.
I dreamed of making books faster, cheaper, not only for kings and bishops, but for merchants, students, ordinary people.
Gutenberg printed around 180 copies of his 42-line Bible. Each was uniform, reproducible, and beautiful. But they weren't cheap. About 30 to 42 florins, 2 years' wages for a clerk, equal to $11,000 to $16,000 today. To fund the project, Gutenberg borrowed heavily, 800 guilders from Johann Fust, then another 800. By 1455, Fust sued for repayment, 2,026 guilders, nearly $474,000 today. In the end, the lawsuit buried him. Gutenberg lost his workshop, his press, and the fortune he had hoped to build. Why did he fail? The business model was brutal. High upfront costs for type, ink, labor, but slow returns, with years needed to sell a luxury Bible. Creditors demanded cash fast. Gutenberg even printed indulgence certificates, standardized church forms, hinting at mass market potential. But before he could scale, his press was gone. In the ashes of his loss, others seized the chance and became the first true print capitalists. When Gutenberg lost his press in 1455, it didn't disappear, it changed hands. His financier, Johann Fust, together with Gutenberg's assistant Peter Schoeffer, seized control.
Gutenberg gave the world the press, but we made it into a business. Every psalter, every Bible tang, profit turned the gears.
They proved their point quickly. In 1457, they published the Mainz Psalter, the first dated book in history printed in multiple inks with brilliant red and blue initials. It wasn't just a book, it was a brand.
We gave each book a distinctive face. Readers would know it came from our shop and nowhere else.
Their clients weren't ordinary townsfolk. They were cathedrals, universities, and courts, institutions with money and appetite for uniform texts. A psalter could cost the equivalent of dozens of days' wages, a Bible 30 florins or more, over $12,000 in today's money. The lesson was stark. Gutenberg invented and died poor. Fust and Schoeffer controlled the capital, mastered the brand, and became the world's first true print capitalists. By the late 1400s, the printing press had spread across Europe. Many workshops came and went, but a few families turned printing into dynasties. In Venice, Aldus Manutius launched the Aldine press. His vision? Make classics small, portable, and accessible. He created the pocket-sized octavo and popularized italic type.
Why should wisdom sit only on the shelves of princes? I wanted Aristotle to fit in a student's hand, Cicero in a merchant's pocket,
His books weren't cheap at first. Latin octavos sold for approximately 30 soldi, Greek ones for approximately 60, $150 to $300 today, about a week or two of a craftsman's wages. His dolphin and anchor emblem became one of Europe's first publishing brands, a mark recognized across the continent. In Antwerp, Christophe Plantin built a true empire. Backed by royal patronage, he printed the monumental 8-volume Polyglot Bible between 1568 and 1573. A standard paper set sold for approximately 70 florins. Luxury vellum versions reached 200, the equivalent of $25,000 to $70,000 today.
Kings trusted me to make their words eternal. But one mistake, and my fortune, even my life, was at risk.
Plantin's press employed hundreds, producing not only Bibles but also maps, scientific texts and law books. His dynasty lasted 3 centuries, until Antwerp itself bought the house and presses in 1876 for 1.2 million francs, nearly $40 million today. Further north, the Elsevier family of Leiden and Amsterdam specialized in compact scholarly works, and their famous Petite République, pocket guides to nations.
We printed the world, one republic at a time. Small books, easy to hide, easy to carry. Knowledge that traveled faster than armies.
Their dynasty lasted over a century, from the 1580s to 1712. Elsevier books became synonymous with quality, compact, affordable, and global. The Elsevier name lived on. In the 19th century, a Dutch publisher revived it, Elsevier. Today, Elsevier is a global giant, earning over £3.2 billion annually. Together, Aldus, Plantin, and the Elseviers proved printing was no longer a gamble. It was an industry, one that rewarded vision, capital, and scale. By the early 1800s, the hand press was reaching its limits. The modern world demanded speed, scale, and cheaper copies. Industrial printing was about to explode. In London, 1814, Friedrich Koenig and Andreas Bauer unveiled the steam-powered cylinder press. The Times secretly installed 2 machines, each producing over 1,000 sheets per hour, 4 times faster than a hand press.
I dreamed of a press powered not by hands, but by steam. Faster, stronger, a machine for the modern world.
This leap changed everything. For the first time, a daily newspaper could reach tens of thousands of readers the same day. His company lived on. In 1817, he and Bauer founded Koenig and Bauer in Würzburg, Germany, specializing in banknote and packaging machines. In 1920, it became a public limited company, and since 1985, its shares have been listed on the Frankfurt Stock Exchange under ticker SKB. Even today, you can buy stock in the company born from the world's first steam press.
If you're watching this, you already care about patterns. I use the TradingView charting platform to turn those patterns into trades. Dark and light theme, clean charts, fast watch lists, powerful screeners, economic calendar, the best phone charting app with alerts to my pocket, and all indicators I actually need. It covers all the markets I track: stocks, crypto, FX, and commodities, so it works for any type of investor. And it supports 20 languages. Sign up for a free account through my link in the description. It supports the channel at no extra cost to you, and you'll get a $15 reward if you decide to buy a subscription via our referral link. Look first, then leap.
Across the Atlantic, Richard March Hoe's rotary press of the 1840s fed continuous rolls of paper through spinning cylinders. By the 1860s, it printed up to 20,000 sheets an hour.
I built a press that could run without rest, feeding paper in endless rolls. With it, news would never stop.
Hoe's machines weren't cheap. An 1871 catalogue listed large models at $5,500 each. more than $130,000 today. Only the biggest publishers could afford them. By the late 19th century, the bottleneck was no longer printing, it was typesetting. Every line of text still had to be set by hand. Enter Ottmar Mergenthaler, a German immigrant in New York. In 1886, he unveiled the Linotype machine, which cast whole lines of type in hot metal. Suddenly, a compositor could set text 4 to 8 times faster, cutting newsroom costs in half.
They called my invention the eighth wonder of the world. For me, it was simply a way to give words wings.
The Linotype spread rapidly. By 1895, the Mergenthaler Linotype company reported net profits of $1.96 million, with capital doubled to $10 million. For the first time, investors could buy shares in a printing technology company. Printing wealth was no longer locked to families or king. It was open to the public. The Mergenthaler Linotype company itself didn't survive the 20th century. In 1987, it was acquired by Allied Signal. And when Allied Signal merged into Honeywell in 1999, Linotype's legacy became part of a Fortune 100 industrial giant. Honeywell still exists today and trades under ticker HON, with annual revenues over $35 billion. Together, steam, rotary and linotype transformed print into a true mass medium. Newspapers reached millions daily. Publishers became industrial barons, while inventors faded into history. By the 20th and 21st centuries, the wealth of printing no longer rested with family workshops. It belonged to global institutions and corporations, built on subscriptions, copyrights, and scale. First, the university presses. Oxford University Press began printing in 1478, and Cambridge University Press in 1534. For centuries, they built reputations on scholarship, and by the 1800s, they dominated school textbooks and scientific publishing. Today, Oxford reports annual revenues of over £830 million, and Cambridge more than £1 billion. Together, they dominate global educational publishing. But unlike corporate publishers, you can't invest in Oxford or Cambridge. Their presses are owned by universities. Profits are reinvested into teaching and research. Wealth here fuels knowledge, not shareholders. In contrast, Elsevier turned scholarly publishing into a for-profit empire. Refounded in 1880 in Rotterdam, it revived the Elzevir family name and scaled it into a global giant. Today, Elsevier is part of RELX, a FTSE 100 and MWC listed company, with group revenues of £9.4 billion in 2024, £3.2 billion from Elsevier's science and medical publishing. Elsevier's wealth echoes the past. Small pocketbooks became billion-dollar digital subscriptions. A family brand turned into a stock market juggernaut. Across the Atlantic, the New York Times became the model of a modern newspaper empire. Founded in 1851, incorporated in 1896, and listed publicly in 1969, with ticker name NYT, it pioneered the shift from advertising to digital subscriptions. Today, the Times boasts more than 10 million digital subscribers. For investors, patience has paid. Its stock slumped during crises, but soared after its subscription pivot.
Advertising rises and falls, but subscriptions? They are the bedrock of our future.
For today's investors, the opportunity that began with Linotype in the 1890s is still alive. You can't buy shares in Gutenberg or Plantin, but you can buy modern heirs to the printing fortune on the stock market. Together, Oxford, Cambridge, Elsevier, The Guardian and The New York Times show the spectrum of print wealth today. Mission-driven, corporate, trust-based and public stock. But they all share the same DNA, born with Gutenberg's Bible and industrialized by centuries of capital. By the late 19th century, the press wasn't just about knowledge anymore. It was about power, profit, and politics. Newspapers became the primary gatekeepers of information. To control a press was to control what millions of people saw, believed, and voted for. Newspaper profits soared. The New York Times transformed front pages into prime real estate for merchants, manufacturers, and politicians. The paper recorded 60 consecutive years of rising profits, a streak that lasted until 1958.
The more papers I sold, the more advertisers pay. News was business, and business was power.
The lesson was clear. Inventors built machines, but owners built empires. Gutenberg died poor. Koenig wrestled with creditors. Howe's firm went bankrupt. Mergenthaler's company was absorbed. Meanwhile, the financiers and corporations who owned presses became dynasties, and some became public companies you can still invest in today. Technology alone was fragile, but once capital scaled it, branded it, and sold it to the masses, it became unstoppable. That is the paradox of the printing press. The greatest leap in human knowledge left its inventors poor, while financiers and institutions grew richer than ever. The printing press reshaped human civilization. What began in a Mainz workshop grew into a force that transformed knowledge, culture, and power. Its greatest gift was literacy. In 1500, fewer than 1 in 10 Europeans could read. By 1800, literacy spread across nations, fueling science, trade, and democracy. Today, nearly 90% of the world can read. Knowledge scaled. Oxford and Cambridge turned presses into global classrooms. Elsevier digitized science. The New York Times scaled daily headlines into a business sustained by millions of paying readers. And yet, the power of the press isn't only in wealth, it is in trust. Readers believed the printed word. That trust built revolutions, toppled empires, and continues today with digital headlines shaping global debate. The printing press did more than build fortunes. It built the modern mind. It gave humanity the tools to question, to reason, to imagine. Every revolution that followed, industrial, political, scientific, digital, was born from this machine. From ink on paper to pixels on screens, the press remains humanity's most powerful multiplier. Its legacy is not only in wealth, but in the ideas that still shape our world. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and press the notification bell and leave a comment. Your support helps us bring more histories like this to life. And don't forget to visit nextorderalpha.com to subscribe to our free newsletter for more insights on history, finance, and investing.